Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. These words from Carl Jung challenge a widespread assumption that what shapes society lies strictly in external systems, laws, and policies. We often believe that large-scale change demands sweeping movements or grand gestures. Yet what if our unconscious drives, those silent motivations deep within, affect the entire course of our communal destiny? This perspective stands in stark contrast to the belief that social impact is purely about outward, visible action. It suggests instead that genuine, lasting change must involve turning inward, illuminating our hidden corners, and integrating them into our conscious awareness. Without doing so, we risk letting our unconscious biases and unacknowledged desires steer our efforts at community transformation, often with unintended consequences. Here, we might ask, how does my inner world influence the ways I contribute to society? In what subtle ways am I weaving myself into the broader community tapestry, and how can I do it with greater clarity and purpose? These are the questions that can spark a profound shift from passive spectator to active, integrated agent of collective development. On a personal level, many of us grow up believing that we must individually excel to make an impact. We pursue professional achievements, build social networks, or accumulate resources, hoping these feats will ripple outward and create positive social effects. But as we mature, we discover that pure external accomplishment doesn't guarantee meaningful social influence. We might find ourselves wondering why some well-intentioned projects fizzle out, while smaller, more intimate acts can have remarkable power in forging genuine community connection. Jung would say that this puzzle arises partly because the unconscious has not been honored. When we neglect to explore who we are beneath our personas, our outward efforts remain incomplete, lacking soul, authenticity, and depth. Indeed, it's in that deeper place where the seeds of real, lasting communal impact can be planted. How then do we integrate these perspectives and move beyond superficial beliefs about social change? Can we truly harness our individual processes of self-discovery to fuel communal transformation? And if we do so, what might the ripple effects look like for families, neighborhoods, and entire societies? The story that follows weaves together Jung's insights, contemporary psychology, and a glimpse into the human brain's social nature. Our metaphor here will be a vast tapestry, each thread representing an individual life, and each intersection of threads signifying the bonds we share. As we explore how Jungian principles can guide us toward more conscious social contribution, we may discover that true community influence is both an outward act and a profound inward journey. We begin by considering the early life stages, when we're often taught to focus on personal identity formation. Who am I as an individual? What talents do I possess? During these formative years, societal norms push us to define ourselves by career, relationships, or external achievement. We come to believe that success is measured in personal milestones, graduations, promotions, accolades. This viewpoint, while helpful for forging a sense of independence, can obscure our innate connection to the collective. By the time we've reached adulthood, many of us are deeply immersed in the pursuit of personal goals, often overlooking the fact that our development is intertwined with that of our surrounding communities. Contemporary society tends to reinforce the idea that growth is primarily individual. Self-help books, career coaches, and even social media often focus on personal brand or personal fulfillment. What's missing is the recognition that, in the long run, we are not solitary beings. Jung's work reminds us that, beneath our personal unconscious, there is a collective unconscious, a shared psychological heritage that shapes universal patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior. Despite cultural and linguistic differences, we all tap into these archetypal energies. They govern our communal myths, inform how we relate to each other, and ultimately inspire or limit our collective potential. A common misconception is that the collective unconscious is too abstract to be of practical use when looking for ways to create social impact. People often assume that social change strategies must be wholly rational and data-driven, leaving no room for symbolic or mythic dimensions. Yet the collective unconscious is not some mystical concept divorced from reality. It is the wellspring of our deepest motivations. It produces the archetypes we project onto leaders, the myths we unconsciously enact in society, and the communal dreams that guide entire cultures. Therefore, bridging the gap between individual growth and group well-being demands that we acknowledge these shared undercurrents. Indeed, what we dismiss as mere fantasy might contain seeds of new social paradigms. We can see a modern example in social media, where collective patterns emerge with astonishing speed. Seemingly out of nowhere, a movement can coalesce, expressing something many people sense but never fully articulated. In Jungian terms, these viral trends can be viewed as unconscious forces bursting into collective awareness. They can bring to light pressing social issues, inequality, climate change, mental health crises, that have long been simmering under the surface. By becoming more aware of these forces, individuals may choose more constructive forms of engagement and collaboration, transforming reactive impulses into intentional efforts at communal betterment. This is where Jung's perspective becomes indispensable. The more we understand our own psychic life, the better equipped we are to harness these collective energies, rather than be swept away by them. As we dive deeper into the core concepts, let us bring to life two foundational ideas from Jung: individuation and the archetype of the self. Individuation is the process of becoming the person you truly are, beyond the masks and illusions. It involves reconciling conscious understanding with unconscious drives. Although it begins as an inward journey, individuation has profound implications for community impact. When you become more honest about your own strengths and shadows, you show up in the world with increased empathy, clarity, and genuine curiosity about other people's experiences. Think of it this way: a thread that recognizes its own color, texture, and place within the tapestry weaves more harmoniously with others. The archetype of the self stands at the center of this deepening process. It symbolizes wholeness and the union of opposites, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious. This archetype hints at the innate drive towards synthesis that exists within all human beings. When more individuals move closer to self-realization, the collective can experience a kind of cultural individuation, an evolving tapestry in which each thread contributes to a richer, more integrated pattern. In a practical sense, this might manifest as local communities organizing around shared values while respecting individual uniqueness. Or it might look like cross-cultural dialogues where the objective isn't to erase differences, but to celebrate them as complementary threads in a broader mosaic. Modern psychological research supports the idea that self-awareness and empathy are key drivers of pro-social behavior. Studies in neuroscience, for instance, have shown that areas of the brain responsible for empathy and compassion, such as the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, activate strongly when people feel emotionally connected to others' experiences. These findings suggest that our brains are wired not just for individual survival, but also for communal support. Indeed, the empathy circuits encourage us to look beyond personal concerns, fostering cooperative strategies essential to human evolution. When we cultivate a rich inner life, acknowledging both the bright and dark aspects of ourselves, we become more attuned to other people's struggles, more prepared to respond constructively, and less likely to project unexamined biases outward. In practice, Imagine a teacher who has engaged in deep reflection, acknowledging unresolved traumas from childhood and reconciling them through therapy or mindfulness. Through that inner work, this teacher becomes more patient and less triggered by challenging student behaviors. By embodying a calmer, more compassionate presence, the teacher influences the entire classroom atmosphere. Students might feel safer taking risks in learning or more comfortable seeking support. This small shift in one person's psychic alignment can create a ripple effect in the community, fostering an environment where mutual respect and curiosity thrive. Jung's viewpoint suggests this is not coincidental. It is the natural result of bringing unconscious material into the light, enabling the teacher to respond from a place of genuine awareness rather than blind reactivity. Another of Jung's core concepts is the notion of archetypes like the hero, the wise old man, the trickster, and the great mother. We see these figures not only in myths and stories, but also in our everyday social roles. For instance, certain public figures might embody the hero, leading society through adversity with bravery. A community elder might become the wise old woman who offers guidance and keeps traditions alive. Recognizing that these archetypal energies exist within us allows us to participate more consciously in the roles we naturally gravitate toward. If you sense a hero archetype stirring within you, perhaps it is prompting you to take a bold step in community leadership. If you resonate with the caregiver, you might be drawn to social work or community health. By aligning with these internal guides, you contribute to society in ways that are not forced, but rather organically integrated with your deeper nature. Psychological transitions often occur when people face life's major crossroads: marriage, parenthood, midlife, retirement. Each transition offers a unique opportunity to integrate new facets of the psyche. For instance, midlife often brings a reevaluation of priorities. Where once we were driven by establishing a career and identity, we might now be compelled to consider how our individual legacy fits into the broader human story. Jung believed that midlife can be a critical juncture for individuation, as the goals and strategies of early adulthood lose their appeal and we search for deeper meaning. In this sense, midlife can become a powerful time for social contribution. Freed from purely self-focused concerns, we find ourselves more attuned to collective needs. Likewise, the passion of youth can be harnessed if young adults are guided to see how their personal quests link to communal well-being. In each stage, if we remain open to our own inner signals, we naturally step into a greater sense of responsibility for each other. However, the journey toward conscious social impact is not always easy. Inner conflicts often arise. We might suspect that making a difference requires stepping away from our comfort zone, risking failure or rejection. The imagination conjures up worst-case scenarios. What if I can't make a difference and everyone judges me? Or what if I try to help but cause more harm? These fears can be understood through the lens of personal shadow, the aspects of ourselves we've disowned or deemed unacceptable. Often, our greatest fear about engaging with the community is rooted in the shadow's illusions about our unworthiness or the world's hostility. Jungian suggests facing the shadow allows us to move beyond the paralyzing fear of external judgments. When we integrate our shadow, we harness its energy for constructive ends. Just as a dark color thread can add depth to a tapestry, our shadow, once integrated, can add richness to our social contributions. The part of us that once held back might become the source of our greatest courage. Yet the transformation process also involves differentiating between the real self and the persona, a concept Jung described as the social mask we wear to negotiate the outer world. The persona is useful, even necessary for everyday interaction, but when we over-identify with it, we lose sight of our genuine core. In terms of social impact, An inflated persona might lead to performative acts of charity, done more for praise than true service. Conversely, a well-integrated persona, balanced by the knowledge of our true intentions, can be a powerful conduit for social engagement. We show up authentically, neither hiding behind a carefully curated facade nor oversharing from a place of woundedness. In this dynamic equilibrium, our persona serves as a bridge between inner wholeness and outward contribution. Delving into the psychological depths further, we must acknowledge the shadow aspects that can undermine our best intentions. For example, a person dedicated to social justice might unconsciously harbor resentment, projecting it onto perceived oppressors in every situation, thus hindering genuine dialogue. By working on that resentment within themselves, understanding its roots, integrating it, and transforming it, they can more effectively build bridges rather than walls. Our persona development involves carefully choosing how we present ourselves, striving to be transparent but also tactful. This does not mean burying strong emotions. It means recognizing them, processing them, and then using their energy judiciously. The unconscious elements, dreams, sudden insights, archetypal impulses, can guide us if we remain receptive. This is precisely where Jungian dream analysis or active imagination techniques can prove invaluable. They help us glimpse the patterns and symbols that our conscious minds often overlook. Through this ongoing integration of unconscious material, we enhance our capacity to collaborate, empathize, and create meaningful social innovations. Contemporary psychologists offer additional insights that complement Jung's framework. Positive psychology pioneer Martin Seligman, for instance, focuses on character strengths such as kindness, fairness, and social responsibility. Research suggests that cultivating these virtues correlates with increased subjective well-being. This aligns beautifully with Jung's idea that individuation fosters authenticity and, consequently, a healthier relationship with others. Meanwhile, social neuroscientists such as Matthew Lieberman emphasize the inherently social nature of the human brain, which has profound implications for how we form communities and social bonds. Such work suggests that humans are literally wired to thrive through connection. This scientific perspective supports Jung's recognition that we are deeply interlinked on both conscious and unconscious levels. In a widely cited Harvard study on adult development spanning over 75 years, researchers found that strong relationships are one of the most important predictors of happiness and longevity. While the study does not explicitly reference Jung, its conclusion resonates with his conviction that isolation from meaningful community ties can be detrimental, not just psychologically, but physically. When we consider community influence under this light, it becomes evident that forging and maintaining deep connections is both a personal desire and a social imperative. It is in alignment with the cooperative, empathic impulses that our brains seem predisposed to follow. On a more practical note, organizations leveraging Jung's ideas have developed coaching programs and leadership workshops that invite participants to reflect on personal archetypes, integrate shadow elements, and refine their personas for more effective collaboration. These modern applications demonstrate that Jung's theory is far from antiquated mysticism. Rather, it provides a psychologically rigorous, symbolically rich toolkit for navigating the complexities of human interaction. By acknowledging unconscious dynamics, these programs help leaders become more self-aware, less reactive, and better able to encourage diverse teams to coalesce into vibrant, functional communities. Research findings also show that when individuals have a clear sense of purpose, rooted in self-knowledge rather than external validation, they are more likely to remain resilient when facing social challenges. They tend to persist, adapt, and find creative ways around obstacles. This kind of purpose-driven engagement exemplifies the integration process Jung championed. As more people embark on this inner journey, we might see a cultural shift toward communities that emphasize cooperation, mutual respect, and shared growth. The tapestry thus becomes more vibrant and cohesive, with each thread confidently contributing its unique hue and texture. Returning to our opening perspective, we see how Jung's insight about making the unconscious conscious can revitalize the way we think about social impact. Instead of relying on surface-level strategies, we now grasp the importance of delving into our psychic depths. Through individuation, the acknowledgement of archetypal energies, shadow integration, and a balanced persona, each of us can participate in shaping communities that reflect our highest human potentials. The notion of fate no longer looms as something handed down from external forces. It becomes, rather, the sum of choices we make every day, choices informed by conscious self-reflection and guided by empathy for our fellow human beings. This evolved understanding offers hope and direction for anyone seeking to contribute to the greater good. The tapestry metaphor reminds us that every thread matters, and every knot or flaw can be repaired in the weaving process. Instead of viewing ourselves as isolated actors, we come to see we are integral parts of a grand, collective design. By recognizing our personal role, acknowledging strengths, weaknesses, and hidden yearnings, we awaken an authentic desire to serve. We break the illusion that genuine social impact must be large-scale or impossible, discovering instead that every heartfelt action, no matter how seemingly small, reverberates through the communal tapestry. In closing, remember this. As you grow in awareness, you guide your own thread through the loom of human connection. As you confront your shadow and integrate your persona, you contribute to a society that is less fragmented and more attuned to deeper truths. And as you embrace the shared unconscious wellspring that Jung spoke of, you become a living vessel for the collective's evolution. It is an act of profound hope to weave yourself into the world with love, courage, and authenticity. May this hope energize you in the days to come, and may you carry the light of conscious awareness wherever you go, inspiring others to do the same.